And I'm here with John Ramdeen and Robin Black, and as I just stated there, a very tragic news coming out of the world of mixed martial arts, and that is Bellator fighter Jordan Parsons, only 25 years of age, of course, was the victim of a hit-and-run incident this past Sunday in Florida, had his leg amputated, and now has passed away. Just awful news, John, and I think just someone that such a promising talent had recently was getting ready, in fact, for his Bellator fight in San Jose in just a couple of weeks, and there isn't a whole lot to add, but just a really sad story.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Rumble Johnson posted on social media to say hi to his pops, because obviously very close. That's what happens in mixed martial arts. You spend so much time with these athletes, day in and day out, you learn their stories, and you get close with a lot of fighters. So Anthony Johnson was very close with Jordan Parsons. A lot of people obviously affected by this.
Yeah, and you wonder why we in television always come out and re-mention these stories when we know we've seen them and heard them. And you wonder that, and I think the answer is because we spend a lot of our time watching a sport or watching politics or watching music or whatever it is, and you realize that these things are happening every day to people, and they remind you of that kind of thing. But you know, sometimes Wolf Blitzer will just say our hearts and minds and prayers go out to family and say throw away meaningless stuff. But when you really think about it for a bit, you really feel bad for the person's family, and you also think, you know, whoever hit somebody and ran away, turn yourself in. You know, you could be scared or whatever. Go deal with it and turn yourself in.
And Bellator did put out a statement announcing this awful news, and we can take a look at those words that Bellator put out there. This statement that certainly is going to leave many with a very heavy heart as Bellator moves forward, and of course the Black Zillions camp. I mean, among the many fighters under that roof, you mentioned Anthony Johnson, Rashad Evans, Stefan Struve, who is fighting this weekend. I mean, certainly this impacts a lot of people, and Jordan Parsons was someone still very young in his career, as we mentioned, only 25 years of age.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. What else is there to say?
Yeah. We're reminded that these things happen all the time by the thing that we're deeply immersed in, watching fighters like this, and we're excited to see them do their thing. We're excited to see the skills and the things that they train and dedicate their lives to do. And while we're watching that, we're reminded that, you know, people end up in accidents and end up passing away. And
this wasn't an accident. Somebody hit them. They fled. They haven't been found. I think it's a silver Range Rover they're looking for. Initially, they had to cut off his leg. He was dealing with heart failure, I think, as well, and then succumbed. I mean, you talk about turning yourself in. Sure, initially you hit somebody, but now that somebody's dead, it's
all the more.
obviously
I mean,
terrifying.
what are you going to do? Run for life? It is an accident, presumably, and then a terrible choice is made, and that choice is confounded every minute that you're sitting there running away. Just turn yourself in and deal with it.
Well, not easy to move on from a topic like that, which is obviously very much weighing on everyone's mind. But we will move on over as the UFC getting ready for their card in Rotterdam this coming Sunday. And then the following weekend, it's UFC 198 in Brazil. And I had the chance to interview Cris Cyborg ahead of her UFC debut for this card. She's getting set for a 140-pound catchweight bout against Leslie Smith. And in this interview, it really sounds like Cyborg is looking to get to 140, and that very much could be her floor. I don't think she really believes that 135 is going to be an option, and thinks that maybe some women will be willing to do catchweight bouts at 140. Is that something realistic, John? And as we're seeing the UFC booking a 125-pound women's bout, could 145 be a destination point for a future division?
Well, it all depends. You know, it's just like when Conor McGregor got to the UFC. It's like all I needed was to get to the show, and then it would be open up to the world what type of athlete, what type of performer I am. And I think it's the same thing with Cris Cyborg. Once she gets into the UFC and people see the spectacular beating that she's going to lay on Leslie Smith, and Leslie Smith can take a hell of a beating, and I think it's just going to further cement the fact that Cyborg is going to be a star. If people get to witness this type of brutality, I think a division will be created for her. And it really doesn't matter how many you have. Sure, if they want to focus on bringing in a title for Cris Cyborg at 145 pounds or 140 pounds, they can, or they can just find her opponents.
I don't think Leslie Smith is just showing up to lose this fight. She's showing up to fight this fight. And
so is Gina Carano.
Yeah, well, fair enough, but good on her. It's interesting, while, you know, we see people and we recognize star power because it's rare. and we see it and we know it. Something's different about this one. And until that happens and we get all the other things to talk about, sometimes we get trapped in like one or two concepts, one or two discussions. And for her, it's been weight, because that was the thing that prevented this star from being on the platform that we've seen. While we're talking about this weight, you can cut to 135 if you choose to. People will say, well, why should she cut that muscle? I don't know. Why should anybody make another weight class, achieve another weight class? It depends what you're after. The marquee division, the best women in the world fight at 135. Do you want to fight those women? If so, you will find a way to get to 135. It can be achieved. Any nutritionist, any strength and conditioning coach, they will say, absolutely, it can be achieved. Well, not without losing muscle. No, because at 135, you have less muscle. If she chooses not to do that because she either doesn't care to fight the best fighters in the world, which are at 135, or because, you're right, it'll be cool to see her fight at any weight, that's going to be on her. But do not tell us you can't make 135. Any weight can be achieved.
It seems
healthy though.
Of course, you just have to lose muscle mass. When you are a large, muscular man or woman,
like John Jones, for example, what is the lowest weight John Jones can get down to and be healthy?
Well,
could he get down to 170 pounds?
Well, have we seen 170 pounders of his height and frame that are
Rumble Johnson,
lean like that, tall and lean? Who are tall and lean 170s? Yeah. Who has the longest
Neil
reach?
Magny.
Neil Magny. Yeah. Now we don't know that his skeleton is the same, but essentially we have seen people, when you carry a lot of muscle, you have the ability to lose muscle, and this is a fact. It takes a lot of work to maintain a large muscle mass. 7 heavy protein-laden meals a day every 3 hours. Hard work to maintain. It's not even a lot of work to lose muscle mass. You just don't maintain it. Right. You just don't do the work to maintain it. So if she desires to be 135, she can be 135. So her call.
And in the case of this Leslie Smith fight, I mean, if there's a fight you want enough, there's always the catch weight option, and that's what World Series of Fighting has decided, as they have matched adopted brothers Caros Fodor and his adopted brother Ben, who are going to fight at a 162-pound catchweight bout on June the 30th in Everett, Washington. Going to, I believe, the MFC's playbook when they match two brothers against one another. This is, to me, World Series of Fighting, and this is trying to get traction with any kind of gimmick they can possibly find.
That's right. Phoenix Jones is going to be wearing a suit, coming to the cage.
Will they wear the suit?
No, probably not. Who knows? I mean, again, they're trying to do what they can do. I mean, they have limited options. That is a reality. So they're trying to make an impact. They're trying to talk to the hardcore fans who are all snobs and believe that we all know something that the casual fans don't know, and that this is going to get the attention of us hardcore fans. I'm tuning in. I mean, that's just the reality.
Well,
Cody's
I will
tuning
tell
in.
you.
You're going to tune in.
Yeah, and I do like this one a lot more than I like, a juiced up street fighter fighting an overweight street fighter who maybe medically shouldn't have been cleared. I like this better, because this is creative matchmaking around storytelling, around other things other than getting people killed in fights.
I don't know how anyone could be offended by this. So what? They're adopted brothers and they're going to fight. What ethical line are they crossing?
Frank should have fought. This is the Ken and Frank fight that we didn't get.
Yeah, so you're going to get it with the Fodor brothers. So nonetheless, that's happening June the 30th. As we move on at this point, and we're looking ahead to Sunday for the UFC's debut card in Holland. Of course, we have Alistair Overeem taking on Andrei Arlovski. Very interesting the way this has been put together, and just the structure of this heavyweight fight involving two training partners who don't seem like they were the best of friends to begin with, and it doesn't seem this is anywhere near the kind of relationship Andrei Arlovski had with former training partner Travis Brown when they fought.
Yeah, the thing about Alistair Overeem, you look at history, talk to anybody that's been around Alistair Overeem. Alistair Overeem is on team Alistair Overeem. Yeah, sure, he might forge partnerships and relationships to different gyms, but much like Vitor Belfort, a lot of the time these guys will bring their own coaches to the facility, and it's just a bunch of warm bodies, some new looks that they need to be able to face off with the best fighters in the world, and that seems like what it is here with Alistair Overeem.
Love the fight.
Yeah, I love it too.
I love the way that the skills match up and the experience, all of that. Pollock and I talked to Alistair today. You talked to to Arlovski as well. I can't speak. I wasn't there for the Arlovski conversation, but as much as I enjoyed talking to Alistair, and I'm a big fan of his fighting, he was a little passive aggressive. Didn't you notice? He's like, oh no, me. I'm cool with Andrei. I'm cool. I don't know what his deal is, but I'm cool with him.
Well, it seems like some of the grudge over this. I mean, when I spoke to Arlovski, he's telling me, well, Alistair went to Joe Silva and requested this fight, and then Overeem telling us, no, Lorenzo presented the fight to me. I just okayed it. So I don't know where necessarily the grudge begins or ends involving these two, but there's no mistaking. For both of these individuals, a win does a ton for them in this heavyweight division, including Andrei Arlovski.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he's coming off the Miocic loss, but this is someone who has a victory over current champion Fabricio Verdum, and that heavyweight division, it's wide open at the top.
Very true, but because Arlovski suffered a loss in his last fight, I think he probably needs to win a couple more fights, where Alistair Overeem, you stop the former champion and Junior Dos Santos. You're on a roll right now. You could see how they could...
Overeem's closer, but
exactly.
I don't discount Arlovski.
And Overeem told us he's going to stop this former champion and then fight for the title at Madison Square Gardens. That's his words.
We will chat about this more. Our preview show is coming up Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That will lead into the prelims from Holland, which will be airing here in Canada on Fight Network, and then the main card at 2 Eastern, headlined by Alistair Overeem and Andrei Arlovski.